Alright guys, what's going on? It's Cynical, welcome back to another video. In today's one, I want to give some early impressions towards Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, but also talk about Kingdom Hearts 4 in the mix. This game has me thinking a lot about Kingdom Hearts 4. Is that rude of me? I don't know. I should probably just be thinking about the content that stands before me, but being a Kingdom Hearts fan and knowing that this is coming from Square Enix, of course, it makes me think and gets me excited about Kingdom Hearts 4 and the evolution we're going to see, considering that there has been a monumental sense of evolution, refinement, and improvement from Final Fantasy VII Remake into that of Rebirth. I've been playing Rebirth for the past couple of days. Big shout out to Square Enix for providing me with a review copy. Obviously, major outlet journalist reviews have already dropped, and the game is sitting around the 93 mark over on Metacritic. This game is simply incredible. I've put about 20 hours into it so far. I will be getting out a complete review of the game, hopefully on launch day, but I do want to share just a few impressions as of right now. Now to begin with, this is quite possibly one of the best Square Enix video games of all time. You guys are going to be feasting when it comes to next week. I am blown away by the improvements made from Remake into Rebirth. They've pretty much taken everything into account from what Remake offered, all of that criticism, the things and fan services that people wanted to see more in Remake, and applied it heavily into Rebirth. This game is expanded tenfold. Obviously, it's an entirely different beast compared to Remake. Remake is very much more so linear, being that it only takes place during the Midgar portion of FF7, whereas Rebirth is 100% an open world game. This kind of gives the developers a little bit more canvas to work with when it comes to content for the player to indulge in, and oh my god, is there content. This game is stacked with things to do. If you just want to go off the beaten path and start indulging in map markers, you know, classic cliche open world stuff, then of course you can. But it's stuff that keeps you engaged and entertained. Everything you're doing out in the open world is progression of some sort, sort of taking notes from that of like Breath of the Wild or perhaps even Elden Ring. The open world gameplay loop of FF7 Rebirth is simply fantastic. I don't really think that Square Enix are doing anything absolutely game-breaking or wow, this has never been done before in the sense of how they approach the content within the open world. It's very much, oh okay, I've experienced this before, but in the best singular way possible. And especially if we use Final Fantasy 15 as a comparison point, as that is the only other Final Fantasy game that's attempted an open world setup. Oh my god. Oh, they have learnt, man. Nothing against 15. 15 is actually one of my favorite Final Fantasies. I put it above that of 16, funnily enough. I was kind of thinking to myself though, like looking at specifically the combat system of what was on offer for Remake and how Square Enix introduced a very unique, and I want to say basically one-of-a-kind action RPG system. How can they further refine that and improve it? Well, Rebirth does that all. The combat definitely feels better. They have refined this. And I want to use like Kingdom Hearts 1 to Kingdom Hearts 2 as a comparison's sake. Obviously, there's a day and night difference between both of those games, right, when it comes to the combat system. This is why I think that everyone generally praises KH2 more than Kingdom Hearts 1. Yes, there are things that KH1 do better than Kingdom Hearts 2, but if we just look at the combat system, my god, did Square Enix peak. So it's sort of the same case here with Rebirth. I wouldn't say as drastic as KH1 to KH2. This is very much more so Square Enix building off of the basis of the combat system from Remake to further improve it. We've got stuff like the deadly dodge materia as well as the parry materia just being straight up infused into the basic moveset for like Cloud and Tifa. That materia no longer exists, so you've just always got the deadly dodge capabilities as well as the quicker dodging, which just makes the gameplay pace of the sense of it being an action RPG just feel all the more better. And aerial combat finally feels good. Like, Remake's aerial combat for when using a melee-based character is not great, and obviously in times where you were versing like flying enemies, you would prioritize using either Barret or Aerith to take care of them. Now, you've got a little bit more control over actually being able to fight in the air as both Tifa and Cloud. You can now finally dodge in the air so you can keep yourself airborne and even like juggle enemies. You now have 2 shortcut menus depending on if you're on the ground or in the air, so you can set up a completely different list of shortcuts for while engaging in aerial combat. They've really put a focus and heard people's complaints about Remake's aerial combat being a little bit annoying to deal with, and the fact that it doesn't really feel good whilst playing as both Tifa and Cloud. The synergy abilities are like these brand new mechanics for the combat system that allow you to team up with your party members and perform unique attacks. They also require their very own resource gauge too. So this is a little bit similar to like when we look at Kingdom Hearts 2, how it introduced limit attacks. Sort of the same thing. This system's a little bit more expansive than that. You've got both like synergy abilities and synergy skills, and these are so cool to pull off. The synergy skills don't actually require any resource whatsoever. You can use these as much as you want while you're engaging in combat. And this in itself can allow you to string into some really cool stuff. Like some will actually chuck the character up into an airborne state so that you can then start to engage in, again, aerial combat, which again feels really good. And I think overall just the depth too of the progression system is so much better. They've sort of changed it with like the weapon leveling. It's a little bit different. You no longer have that like little crystal matrix thing for each individual weapon that was like the main progression system. Now you've just got an overall weapon level that is separate to each party member, but as this increases for each party member, all of their weapons base stats will increase. You'll also unlock more materia slots for your weapons, as well as more slots for the new weapon skill system, which is basically like enhancement gems that you can put into the weapon to give you stuff like enhanced MP regeneration, or plus 200 HP, or plus 20 attack power, etc. But it's the folios that you're going to be spending your time kind of diving into, and this acts more of like a sphere grid from Final Fantasy X. Maybe not as expansive as something like the sphere grid, but these are all stat increases that are permanent to your character and not dependent on the actual weapons that you're using, which I know a lot of people wanted. They wanted permanent character stat increases rather than it being dependent to weapons. And from what I've seen so far too, the amount of new materia in the game to allow you to further customize your party setup is ridiculous. I think people just wanted to have a little bit more control over what their party members are doing. So just for an example, you finally have like a materia that allows your party members that aren't being controlled to activate their unique ability. In Remake, you'd always kind of be like switching from one party member to another to then make use of that unique triangle ability. The game overall though is just so much more RPG heavy because for one it is open world, but like two, there's a lot of party members, and some party members are better suited in specific moments compared to others, especially with the different combat tasks and activities to do around the open world. You might find yourself kind of going into the equipment materia menu quite often, switching things in and out, having different gear setups or ability setups. And again, it's that side of FF7 Remake that like the hardcore fans were really missing. They wanted that whole, you know, deep diving into the party system and configuring things to their liking. You are going to be doing so much of that here in Rebirth. I'm not even going to begin to start talking about like the sheer amount of content to engage in within the open world. I'll do that in the review because it is staggering. This is just so much more of a game than Remake was. Of course, again, two different beasts. One's an open world game, one is very much linear, and not to say that like, oh god, looking back at Remake now, it's an absolute pile of cat shit. Absolutely not. It's just really impressive to see how much expansion and evolution has taken place from both games. And so this got me thinking about Kingdom Hearts 4. There are some obvious things that could be changed when looking at Kingdom Hearts 3, and of course, the Kingdom Hearts fanbase, being as passionate as they are, have given a lot of feedback towards Kingdom Hearts 3. I am so excited to see this same thing happen with Kingdom Hearts. We have to keep in mind that looking at Kingdom Hearts 3, it's the very first ever fully fledged Kingdom Hearts game that was developed for modern systems, but more so, it was the first time that the Kingdom Hearts team had ever worked with the Unreal Engine. And of course, the development cycle of KH3 was an absolute mess. They started off developing on their own in-house engine, the Luminos engine, then kind of had to switch at the beginning of development, start from scratch, learn a whole new engine. But Kingdom Hearts 3, I look at it as the sort of learning curve of Square learning how to develop on Unreal Engine, on top of also learning how to make a modern Kingdom Hearts title. The crazy thing is, though, I think that Kingdom Hearts 3 as an end result is still a fantastic product. I still to this day cannot pick between both KH2 and Kingdom Hearts 3 as to what one I prefer. Both of them have their strengths and both of them have their weaknesses, but it's still impressive to know that because there were a lot of firsts here for Square when looking at Kingdom Hearts 3, it still turned out to be fantastic. But then, what does that mean for the next Kingdom Hearts game? Considering now that Square Enix do have a lot of experience with Unreal Engine, we also know too that they'll be using Unreal Engine 5 for Kingdom Hearts 4, whereas also looking at Final Fantasy Rebirth, just for people that don't know, this is Unreal Engine 4. Just real quick interject too, like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth, most of the time is one of the best looking video games I have ever seen. So just thinking about Kingdom Hearts 4, considering also too that it's now set in Quadratum, Unreality, it's using realistic visuals, my god, this has the opportunity to be the best looking Square Enix video game of all time. But I think as of right now, Rebirth kind of holds that title. But also because Square Enix have listened closely to fan feedback from Kingdom Hearts 3, Kingdom Hearts 4 will truly be Square Enix's, I believe, Kingdom Hearts magnum opus, taking everything into account, knowing what was missing, what people wanted to see from Kingdom Hearts 3 with that Unreal experience. We already know that like the reaction command system is pretty much coming back. There's a lot they're going to be able to do with that considering the new hardware and modern engine they're developing on. This also gives them a chance too to try out new things. Looking at the fact that Remake was very much a linear game and Rebirth is more of an open world game, it's sort of clear as day, to be honest, that Final Fantasy VII just works so much better in that open world type format. I'm not saying the same for Kingdom Hearts 4, but at least looking at something like Quadratum, imagining that same similar kind of setup would actually, in my opinion, be really cool. Kingdom Hearts 4 also opens Square Enix up to so many new opportunities for the Kingdom Hearts series as a whole, considering that it's not confined to this Disney type thing. They can do a lot of wacky stuff that generally you would look at and be like, okay, that's strange, that shouldn't be here in Kingdom Hearts, because of where the story is at being in Unreality. They can use the canonical point of where the story is at to their advantage for brand new gameplay systems and things that otherwise wouldn't generally make sense in a Kingdom Hearts title. Nomura though has also reassured us that even though Kingdom Hearts is now like in the real world, it's looking a little bit more like Final Fantasy, it will still very much be a Kingdom Hearts title. There's just a lot of systems that I think Kingdom Hearts 3 did really well that to see further refinement towards I think is really exciting, like the air step system, the form change system I think is kind of done best in KH3, though at the same time too, I think we should have like a drive gauge or something like that kind of put into the mix, but I did like the situation command system. Just again, resource cost behind it would be kind of nice. How they approached worlds was really good. We just need that Kingdom Hearts 1 charm and hidden secrets also infused into worlds. There's just a lot of really good stuff about Kingdom Hearts 3 that personally I can't wait to see take on the same evolution that Final Fantasy VII Rebirth has from Final Fantasy VII Remake. However guys, that is just some thoughts that have been swirling around my head as I've been playing Rebirth. Rebirth is fantastic from what I've experienced so far. I think it will really be my game of the year unless something else crazy comes out. I mean, we do have like Lost Soul Aside and Wukong. So like we've got some contenders for this year, but oh my god, like, this game is ridiculous, and I just simply cannot wait for the rest of you guys to experience it later on this week. However, dudes, that is all for today. Thank you so much, as always, to my patrons. You guys are simply incredible. Be sure to check out my other social media platforms, and with all that being said, guys, I'm Cynical. Hopefully having a good one.